adventurers, welcome to Let's Just Go podcast. I'm Chris.
And I'm Kayla, and today we are continuing our Walt Disney World Resorts series with Port Orleans, which is 2 resorts, not 1. That's confusing.
It is confusing. Well, let's talk about that. What is happening there? So we have in the travel world, they're called sister resorts, right? They have two different naming conventions, 2 different property, designations.
They look very different.
They look very different.
They're different sizes even. One is much smaller than the other.
In about 6 minutes, you can walk from maybe, I'll say 8 minutes from the lobby of one to the lobby of the other, though.
Yeah.
So they're pretty close to each other, and they do have different vibes. So let's talk about Port Orleans French Quarter first.
Mm-hmm.
I have a confession.
You like it more?
It is my favorite moderate resort.
Well, there's not many options.
No, there's only 4. And quite frankly, I rarely stay at them, if we're being honest. I'm either going to go real cheap for the one-nighter at a value, or I'm just hitting the deluxe, let's be honest.
But French Quarter it's the smallest of all of the moderate resorts.
I think that's what I liked about it. The pool for kids, incredible, right?
It's cheesy as hell, though.
It's like very cheesy.
Riverside versus French Quarter. French Quarter is like if you took Bourbon Street and made it child friendly, but in the early 90s. That is what Port Orleans French Quarter is.
Cheesy, yeah. The pool area,
yeah.
The best part, I would agree with that. I mean, it looks like the French Quarter, right? The architecture of the buildings, and it's small, not real high buildings. I personally like the lounge that's there, where you can.
Is that Scat Cat?
Yeah, where you can get correct. Where they have music at night, live music. There's a bar with food options. I mean, it's
boozy beignets.
Yeah, I mean it's a nice little treat, and then beignets in general, right? You can get
period.
That's amazing. Fun fact about that, though, that quick service location, it's the only one to my knowledge where you can order a full-size pizza at it.
At the quick service location itself?
Actually at the quick service.
Even not like a room service.
Correct.
Okay, I gotcha.
And then you can even mobile order it because it's at the quick service location. Nice. Yeah. So winning for that. Small, you mentioned small, which is great, right? So one bus location, you're not going on 5 stops before you even leave the premises.
And it's the closer to Disney Springs. So if you're taking the boat, you don't have to wait for the second stop. Ask me how I know. It was freezing cold and raining this weekend when I was at Port Orleans Riverside.
Well, and I don't love Disney Springs, but it is a nice option if you have an extended stay where you have a down day. The fact that you're a boat ride away from either of the two Port Orleans, it's a real nice option.
And you pass by, if you're staying at Port Orleans, either one, the boat ride to Disney Springs takes you by the tree houses at Saratoga, which we've previously talked about.
Yeah, that's a fun little. Yeah, it's a nice little boat ride. Although within the last year, those boats were down for a while due to drought issues, and there was no water in the canals there.
I believe that.
So let's talk about French Quarter and what's not great about it. I don't have many things that come to mind. How about you? Do you?
I just the theming is too cheesy for me. It's just like the whole French Quarter. I prefer the theming of Riverside more. Just generally speaking, I like the relaxed vibe.
The Riverside is this, am I going to get canceled? It reminds me of like a plantation, like, oh,
Yeah.
like, right? Like it's got that like,
It's sleepy in a way where like French Quarter, like I'm thinking about like general ambiance, right? So like there's lots of like it's like a louder, livelier French Quarter with like the jazz music, and like that's not the vibe at Riverside, and so I just
no,
appreciate that more.
no.
But yeah, I
Um,
think you're right that like plant it does feel very much like you're in like swamp country.
Correct. I feel like I'm in
Yeah.
a rich Southern person's estate from the
What's
70s.
the girl from Princess and the Frog, the blonde? You feel like she's gonna just like walk out of.
Yes, yes. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
Tiana? And no.
The blonde.
Um, so going back to French Quarter, the only downside that I can really think of is the fact that the only thing is that the rooms only sleep four.
I knew that's what you were gonna say.
So if you are a family of five, um, no options for you, zero.
Hmm.
You're going to have to go over to Port Orleans Riverside.
Yeah.
So there's that. I mean, we talked about the theming. There's more restaurant options at Riverside than there are at
Hmm.
French Quarter. Um, Much larger resort. Still only one bus stop though, right?
No,
No,
there's two.
there's two. All right, you're done for me
There's
then.
like a north and a south, I think is
Nope,
what they
don't want to
call
stay
them.
there. Nope.
I looked out. I think pivoting to Riverside, I looked out and my room was right next to the lobby. So for me, it was a very quick walk.
Well, unlike, so the room categories are different at both Port Orleans, right? So the
Yeah.
French Quarter, they do not have a preferred room category. They do have a preferred room category at Riverside. And so here's our main number one tip. When you are staying
Okay.
at a value or a moderate resort and they have a preferred room category, book it. It means the resort is big as fuck. And if you don't want to walk 18 miles, pay the extra and stay in the damn preferred room category.
You know what's really funny? Okay, so this weekend I stayed one night at Port Orleans Riverside and then moved to Animal Kingdom Lodge, which is also large for being a deluxe. But anyways, uh, we decided we took the bus to Hollywood Studios because it showed up before Epcot. So we took the bus to Hollywood Studios, and then my mom had never taken the Skyliner, so we'll take the Skyliner over to Epcot. We got off at Caribbean Beach and decided to walk to Riviera. Caribbean Beach is so big. Like even compared to Port Orleans Riverside, it is massive. And like we were talking about that because we've stayed there before and just the comparison of the size of resorts and like the moderates are big. I think the moderates I don't someone fact check me. I don't know if this is for sure, but I think they're the biggest. I think they're bigger than the values even.
They are. Yep.
Yeah, because it's where most people stay. Like it's the middle ground.
Right.
So to stay at French Quarter and have the luxury of being in a smaller place when in reality it's one moderate sized like Port Orleans in general is one moderate sized hotel that they just drew a line, you know,
Right.
2/3 of the way over and said this is one and this is the other, which is fine. I mean, it's more dining locations. It's we're going to talk about value resorts. We haven't done that yet. You know, if you're listening to this a year from now, then you know this probably, but it's like art of animation and pop century where like you it's just really giving you access to more things, right? So you have the ability to walk over to another food court and get slightly different food. You have the ability to go over to a shop and get slightly different things in the merchandise place. You can go try to catch a different bus if you want to catch a different bus. You know, like you've got
Right.
more things to do when you don't have that at Caribbean Beach and Coronado.
Recently, the French Quarter pool was closed. The main pool was closed for
Hmm.
renovation. So not super ideal, but you can go over to Riverside's main
Yeah.
pool, right? And so
Yeah.
there's just things like that where options are always good, right?
Hmm.
It's never a bad thing. But
Yeah.
you stayed obviously in a preferred room, which kept you close to the lobby, close to the
I
bus
stayed
area.
in a royal room. That's where I stayed.
Oh, are they doing away with them?
I don't listen. Don't
Well, wait though.
don't book a royal room.
Don't book a royal room. Number one, cool theming, but they only have full size beds, right? Were they
No, they
queens?
were queens, but
I'm thinking of the pirate.
the room the room feels like it feels like an old lady threw up inside of it decoration wise. Like it's not it sounds cute. The rooms when they've got their filters turned way up, you know, Disney like has got their saturation right and so it looks really cute. They're really drab and really dark and there's still carpet.
Yeah, but there's a genie water faucet, so that's cool. Genie bottle, genie lamp.
I don't think there was. Now I have to look. I don't think that my
Oh boy.
I think they've done like slight. Now I'm like, hold on. Now I have to look at because I took pictures and sent them to Brian.
So,
No,
so
it wasn't.
there are the rooms that sleep five do only have a fifth sleeper. So to be clear, the fifth sleeper is not even a full size twin. So it is meant for
Child.
12 years old and younger. And if you have a
Mm-hmm.
really tall 12-year-old, it might not even be for him or her. So um, it is definitely meant for a child, not an adult. But sometimes it is nice to have that option because even parties of four, sometimes they like the two kids don't want to sleep together or they annoy each other, and just having a third separate sleeping
Are you
space.
speaking from experience? Is this something
No, I
children do?
was 8 and 10 years younger than my siblings.
No,
So,
I meant are your children the type that
oh,
get annoyed and
sometimes.
don't want to sleep in the
Yeah,
same?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, no, you were the one that your siblings were annoyed
Yeah,
with.
they were
They were
probably
like,
like,
Chris, get away from me.
get that extra bed. Get that extra. We didn't have enough money to travel. Maybe that's why I do what I do now. Uh,
Oh, and now on this episode of Chris's therapy,
yeah, life. Life varies.
no, I
Yeah,
will say I've never stayed at French Quarter. I've been to French Quarter to like hang out and stuff. I like knew people that worked there and I would go over sometimes when I was living down there. But I've never stayed. It's the only moderate at this point that I haven't stayed at. That being said, I feel like it's gonna sound silly, but I feel like Port Orleans is like the most authentic feeling. Like it feels like it belongs where it is. Like it's got that like southern feel to it. And you're like, oh well, I'm in the South, so it makes sense that this feels very southern. And you don't really get that. I guess Old Key West, but
yeah.
that's further south.
It's very well themed on a like not Disney threw up on it kind of way.
Right. Unless you're in the royal rooms.
That some of the values are. So it's very well themed for, I think, a moderate resort. I mean, generally you get that kind of attention to detail and in the deluxe resorts, right?
Yeah.
So you just stayed at Riverside. I mean, what was your recommendation? Would you stay at either of them again? Maybe not the royal room, but
I don't think I'd do a royal room again. Like I thought it was cute. If you have kids that love princesses,
the royal
like
room.
my mom got there after me and she was like, "Oh my god, this is so cute." And I was like, "Yeah, I've already been here for like 8 hours and I'm over it." And granted I was sleeping for most of that, but uh I would stay at Port Orleans Riverside again, but not a royal room. I want to see what their like standard rooms look like.
Okay. I would recommend it. And I would say prior to the um, Port Orleans French Quarter, right followed up by Port Orleans Riverside, where before the Skyliner came to Caribbean Beach, they were the number one moderate resort request, right? I mean,
Hmm.
so I still find it's awesome. Food, like you can only get beignets there. Well, now you can get them by
Hmm.
Tiana's in Magic
Right,
Kingdom,
right,
but
right. But they're
that,
not. I don't
that
like them at Magic Kingdom.
right. So that is really the only place. So the food is authentic and it's unique. The
Oh,
experience,
I will say the breakfast I had at Port Orleans Riverside was delicious. It was like a loaded tater tot. It was like tater tots and eggs and cheese and gravy. Oh, it was so 10 out of 10. I would get that again.
that sounds
An
fat free.
upset stomach. Oh. It was so good.
So I don't think, outside of the fact that for both of these resorts they are buses everywhere,
Hmm.
you really can't go wrong staying there if the price is right and it or if you are doing a non park visit where you're going to Disney
Hmm.
Springs and doing that sort of stuff. I mean, it's a great option for you.
It's also a good location if you're the kind of person that wants to ride share everywhere. Like I think about Animal Kingdom Lodge, which is the other place that I stay this weekend. to get a rideshare is not cheap because it's so far from all the parks. Granted, it was $10 to get to Animal Kingdom, but if I wanted to go further, it was more expensive. Where if you are wanting to rideshare from Port Orleans to somewhere, it's a lot easier. The one thing I do want to just stress real quick is make sure if you stay at a Port Orleans resort, make sure you know which one you're staying at, because my Lyft driver was arguing with me via Google Translate because he didn't speak English. Like he was like, I don't speak English. And I was like, okay, you're taking me to the wrong hotel. And he was trying to take me to French Quarter. And I was like, no, it's further that way. And he was like, literally had his phone out, was talking into his phone really, really, really fast and like holding his phone up to me while driving, by the way. He didn't like pull over to do this. He pulled out a new phone with his Lyft phone sitting there. Anyways, so make sure you know my point. Make sure you know so you don't get dropped off at the wrong place. Because I have a feeling that probably happens a lot where
I'm
people
sure.
are like, no, I'm staying at Port Orleans. And they show up at French Quarter and they're like, no, you're actually at Riverside.
Yeah, I'm sure they go to the front desk and try to check into the wrong. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the best case is that the price is right, the rooms are big,
Mm-hmm.
um, fun things for kids, close to Disney Springs if you're doing an adult only or whatever.
Yeah.
So you should just go.
You should just go. And if it doesn't sound like a good time, that's okay. There's a million other resorts at Walt Disney World. I'm sure there's one that you're going to like, even if these aren't it.
Yep. Yep.
Just keep listening and we'll tell you about all of them because we've already worked our way through most of them. We've got a couple left. But let's be honest, the couple that are left, you probably don't want to stay at. We're not doing this necessarily in order of favorite to least favorite, but values are our least favorite. That's
Yeah.
because we're bougie. You might not be bougie like we are.
They they work. They work for certain things.
Yeah, like when you want to do a VIP tour and spend all your money on that instead of where you're staying for the night.
Yes. Yes.
But keep listening. We'll keep talking about this stuff. And thank you so much for listening. And until next time, let's just go.